Joe! ジョーの野郎。鬼姫が完全にぶっ潰しやがって。
Oh my god. Hello everyone, welcome to Joe Consumes Cinema. I'm your host, Hollow Victory. Today we have Ashita no Joe, episode 59. It's a very interesting episode last time. You know, Joe's victorious, everybody's celebrating Joe, all of Slumtown, but Dangpei and Nishi can't join in the fun. They know that Joe has, essentially lost his killer instinct, the ability to attack in such a way as to go for extreme violence and just destroying the opponent, which is something a fighter absolutely needs, especially at the higher levels. And yeah, right now it just seems like Joe and his mental hang-up where he can't punch to the face is going to be something he's eventually going to get over, but it's going to take time, and I think most likely what's going to happen is it's going to be revealed to Joe, that he has this hang-up. He's probably going to deny it at first, but then they're going to do maybe another spar, and then he's going to realize he can't actually throw to the head. And then some preparation for his next fight or whatever. He will eventually go up against someone that can, press him. That Yusuke guy, no offense to him, but he was an opponent that Joe could just attack the body over and over again and find success with. He will not be able to do that long term. Like, he's eventually going to go up against people who are really going to press him, and he's going to need the option to throw to the head. And if he doesn't have that option, he's in for a world of pain. But yeah, I think there's going to be a little bit of a process that he's going to have to work through. It's probably the last remnant of his hang-up on Rikishi's death. Not being able to do the thing that caused his death. It's understandable, like it makes total sense, but at the same time, if Joe's going to continue fighting, this is something he needs to overcome. The other really interesting thing that happened is Yoko Shiraki has decided not to let the Shiraki boxing gym die. She's actually decided to push forward with it, even though her grandfather is, against it and basically just wanted to sell off the business and then just be done with it. Since Rikishi's gone, he doesn't really see a point anymore. She is determined to, I guess, keep Rikishi's spirit alive in a way, which is, why she's so gung-ho about, boxing now. As she said, she's willing to die for it. So that's a big character change and one that I'm actually pretty impressed with, and it could be really interesting going forward. Now, I don't know if, eventually she's going to get like a stable of fighters and maybe they're going to cross paths with Joe or Nishi or, somehow tie in with the Dangpei Boxing Club in the future, like potential rivals. I don't know. It could go that route, or, it could just be a way of honoring Rikishi's memory and, continuing on the legacy, which is a really good thing, and, it's something I like to see in boxing. Like, fighters with long, successful careers, I really want to see them, open up gyms and, kind of teach the next generation. I'd also really like to see former boxers become referees. It does happen, it just needs to happen a lot more, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm very eager to get to this one, so let's just get right to it.
バッグに顔めがけ叩け叩け叩け明日はきっと明日はどっちだ
The Looming Black Shadow. Quick reminder to like, comment, share, subscribe. Also consider signing up for my Patreon. For $1 per month, you get access to all my exclusive reactions, also a guaranteed movie request. With that, let's get right back to the reaction. Another fight where Joe refuses to throw to the head, just keeps going to the body. I'm really surprised they didn't just tell Joe. I'm surprised Dangpei is taking this approach. It was a feint. He's stopping short of all the shots that are aimed for the head. He keeps seeing Yoko. There was a fighter back in the day called the Body Snatcher, Mike McCallum. He would go to the body less than Joe is right now. Giant Yamanaka versus Joe. Huh. Little compilation of a win streak here.
地獄からの使者なんて言ってる人もいるけど、ボディ攻撃に変えた理由は何か。
Ah, shit.
顔面をガードしてりゃボディを打って倒すよりしょうがねえだろ。ああ、それぐらいにしてくれ。
大高君、実は相談があるんじゃがね。
Here we go. They'd noticed.
兵藤さん。
丹下君よ、明日の午後1時に教会の方へ来てくれんかな。
教会へ
Well, this is gonna be a setup. This guy obviously has plans for Joe.
この帰り道がジョーの本当の勝利を収めた帰り道だったらなと思うとな。
自分でそれを言うたらあかん言うたお人が。
すまねえ。しかしこのまま行ったらなんかとんでもねえことが起こりそうな。
矢吹城のことだが。
矢吹城？矢吹のことだったら丹下さんが来てからでも。
ああ、時間は過ぎてるんだ。いつまでも待ってるわけにはいかないだろう。
喧嘩屋城か。喧嘩屋というより殺し屋だ。死神だ。地獄からの使者だ。
矢吹城のボディ攻撃に腹部を内出血して病院に運び込まれたものがほとんど。
That's insane.
この際わしは抹殺すべきだと思う。
It doesn't surprise me. I think Dangpei is gonna pop in when they're, going over their plan to destroy Joe.
いや、お恥ずかしい話だが、うちのバンタム級の若手はもうすっかり怯えていますわい。うちも同じだ。聞い倒すなら今のうちだな。
矢吹城を抹殺すべきだ。できるだけ早い機会
だが、どんな方法で？
ランキング上位のベテランを次々にぶつけていけばいいんだ。
矢吹という男は相手が強ければ強いほど喜んでやりたがるそうじゃないか。いくら殺し屋と言ってもランキング上位が相手ではそう息が続かんだろうさ。よし、わかった。では思い切ってうちの日野をぶっつけよう。
日野？バカな！いくらなんでもそいつは無茶だ。
日野は近くバンタムのタイトルに挑戦するんでしょ。日野に矢吹ではあまりに。
いっそあんたんとこのタイガー尾崎をかませてみる気はないか。
タイガー？うちのタイガー尾崎を？タイガーはバンタム級のチャンピオンですよ。
どうだね、国友君。
わしは構いませんが、世間が納得しないんじゃないですかな。
Yeah, they're rushing Joe into a title shot thinking, he's gonna get destroyed. But this may be Joe's saving grace. If he gets into an actual fight with a real opponent who can actually challenge him, he may have no other choice but to punch to the face. Oh, what the hell is she doing here?
会長会議なら連絡ぐらいしてほしいものですわ。
いや、つまり
白木事務の目標も打倒矢吹城。ただし、私は皆さんのような子供騙しの手は打ちません。
Huh.
白木事務の総力を結集して徹底的な作戦でぶつかっていくつもりです。
That's interesting.
あんなお嬢さん育ちに何ができるものか。
彼女の背後には白木財閥が控えておる。
会議までちょうどあと5分か。良い時間だ。
Huh.
急に会長会議だなんて。わしには分からんよ。いや、皆さんもうお揃いでしたか。どうもどうも。丹下さん遅かったじゃないですか。遅い。今ちょうど1時で、会議は1時からじゃなかったんですか。
まあ丹下君、座りたまえ。
He purposefully told him the wrong time.
みんな早く揃っちまったもんでね。それで先に話を始めていたんだ。今日の議題はもう決まったんだから記者職に入ってもらおうかね。本日の会長会議で矢吹城の次の対戦相手が決定しました。
He's still got all the physical gifts. It's just the mental side he needs to correct, and then he's fine. Oh shit.
どうかしたのかよ。ジョー、次の対戦相手が決まったぜ。相手は太陽ジムのタイガー尾崎だ。なんだって？おっさん、もう一度言ってくれよ。
Tiger Ozaki.
西、この俺がチャンピオンのタイガー尾崎と試合やるんだってよ。
バンタム級のチャンピオンベルトはこの矢吹城がいただくぜ。陰謀だ。奴ら寄ってたかってジョーを潰しにかかってるんだ。
打倒タイガー尾崎だ。打倒チャンピオンだ。
奴らの思うつぼだ。筋書き通りジョーはのめり込んでいく。
Okay, I took some time just to gather my thoughts. Episode 59, really good one. So we got a little bit of a compilation here at the beginning where Joe had probably 5 or 6 fights where same thing happened over and over again. He keeps going to the body, his opponents keep, falling to the mat. And, Joe is ecstatic. Dangpei and Nishi have, kept the secret hidden for now. I don't know why. They just, in, private conversation, didn't bring this up and slowly get Joe accustomed to actually correcting this psychological, hang-up that he has. Because it's something he can totally get past, but he has to be aware of it. And if he's not aware of it, he can't address the problem. So I don't agree with Dangpei's approach here to just don't talk about it. Let's just pretend like it doesn't exist. That's uncharacteristically dumb from Dangpei. He would know to actually address the issue and, start correcting it. So Joe's had these 5 or 6 fights, has won, by KO, body shots. Apparently he's doing, such severe damage that it's causing internal bleeding, which is insane. The fact that Joe has that level of power is pretty goddamn nuts. Now, I talked about it, but, Mike McCallum, whose nickname is the Body Snatcher, famous boxer who notoriously went to the body and, dropped guys left and right with it, was very, very good, throwing punches to the body, but he would still punch people in the face. He would be opportunistic, like a good boxer should be, and mix things up. And then, when your opponent gives you an opening, that's what you attack. Joe is just, bull rushing these shots to the gut. He did throw a couple of feints upstairs, but they had no, intention of ever being anything serious. They weren't thrown with killer intent, which is Joe's big hang-up. And yeah, he just keeps going to the gut over and over again, and so far it's worked for him, because for the most part, he's fighting other, not prospects really, but, other rookies who have some potential but can't really push Joe, so it's why he's allowed to get away with doing this over and over again. Now, a lot of people have taken note of this, that Joe just keeps throwing to the gut over and over and over again. And it's everybody in the commission who is, a rival of Joe's and Dangpei's. It's also Yoko Shiraki, who has took note of it, has been to all of his fights. And yeah, this boxing association has, come up with a plan to destroy Joe. They're going to throw him into a title shot before he's ready against this Tiger Ozaki. And hopefully, from their eyes, that Joe will get in over his head and get destroyed. They didn't talk specifically about the fact that, he seems to have this mental hang-up. I don't know if they're aware of it. They should be, honestly, if they've seen enough of his fights where he just relentlessly attacks the body and, nothing else. But Yoko is aware of it, and she actually showed up at that meeting, basically insulted those guys, say, your ploy here is pretty pathetic, I don't want any part of it. But the Shiraki Boxing Gym will come up with a plan to destroy Ibuki Joe. So apparently she's all in on, eliminating Joe and just getting him out of the boxing world altogether in a humiliating defeat. That's a pretty interesting approach, and I didn't know if they were going to go that route with it, but it kind of makes sense story-wise. And yeah, she's the one I'd be more worried about than the others, because their plan was initially to throw, some bantamweight veterans at him, which I think probably would have helped him more than hurt him. He's got to climb the ladder anyway, and he's ready for, an up jump in competition, to be facing more serious opponents. So their plan initially would have backfired and actually, I think, helped Joe. Allowed him to enter a situation where he gets pressed enough that, he has to start throwing to the head and address this problem, but not so much that he'd ever be in any real danger. It's not like when he fought Rikishi or Wolf, honestly, when he was a little bit more inexperienced and in over his head in those fights for the most part, and just, sort of rose above. Dangpei was set up, he got invited to that conference, but, the guy purposely told him, an hour later than they actually started the meeting, because they're all, plotting against Joe and, coming up with a way to actually address this problem, because otherwise he's becoming a bigger and bigger name, and if they just don't do anything to stop him now, he's eventually going to challenge for the title on his own. But a slow, natural progression. This way, if you get him now, he's in over his head a little bit, and you could potentially, set him up for a big defeat. Now, they didn't talk about it specifically, but the whole issue where Joe has this mental hang-up, they never actually brought it up, so I don't know if they know or not. They might just suspect that this is a weakness that he has and, be planning for it. Yoko 100% knows. She referenced it in the episode multiple times, that he's a shell of his former self, and, what he is now is not something that even Rikishi would take note of and probably look down upon. I get the feeling that that's her sense of this whole issue, where Joe isn't living up to his end of the bargain, where, you know, they had that conversation talking about how Joe has this duty to honor Rikishi's memory and, you know, really dedicate himself to boxing. And even though he's been fighting and winning, it isn't the Yabuki Joe of old. It isn't, you know, with his full heart dedicated to fighting. And that's a big problem in their eyes, and kind of like Joe breaking the promise in a way, even though there wasn't an actual promise. But you know what I mean? Like the whole compact the two had at the end there, and the thing that actually allowed Joe to return to fighting. But yeah, it was a really good episode, and honestly, I'm just going to get right to the next one. So as always, thanks for watching, and peace.